The Washington Capitals have overcome a slow start and are right back in the thick of the race after winning 4 straight. Dan Holmi of Locked On Capitals joins us to discuss how they got back on track and why Alex Ovechkin has found his groove again. We've got all that and a lot more on today's Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you can get new episodes as soon as they drop. And you can now find us on SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just do a search for Locked On NHL. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Well, the Washington Capitals are on a 4-game winning streak. They are now in the thick of the hunt for first place in the Metropolitan Division. And Dan Holmi of Locked On Capitals joins us to discuss that. Dan, what's been the big difference between the slow start and the very solid play we've seen from the Caps recently?
Well, it's the integration of youth on this team. We're finally seeing a lot of these young players that we've heard about for so many years finally get production. If we take a look at the game last night, the third line in particular, Sonny Milano Protas and Hendrix Lapierre all stepping up and playing a huge role. And I think that ultimately it was just Spencer Carberry's systems needed to get rolled out and integrated. I think there was still a lot of Peter Laviolette's old systems in their heads rolling around, but they're buying into the system, they're blocking shots, and they're getting really great net minding from Charlie Lindgren, who is the backup for Darcy Kemper.
What has Lindgren been able to do, and is there a chance will they ride the hot hand, or may he even take over as the starter?
It's sure looking that way that he will be the starter from now on. And Spencer Carberry said, he goes, I know the optics on this are kind of weird, that Darcy Kemper is the guy just based on the fact of his pedigree, how much we're paying him and all that kind of thing. But this Capitals team is in win now mode. If you take a look at it, they want to make the most of the Alex Ovechkin era. You're already starting to see players from that era kind of peel off and fade away. If you look at Nick Backstrom, who stepped away from hockey indefinitely. So that is what they're hoping for. But Charlie Lindgren playing a huge role on this team. There's a bit of caution here for me, though, because he did this last December when Darcy Kemper got injured, played really lights out for 4 weeks, and then kind of fell off. So I'm hoping that they can get sustained productivity and really great net minding from Charlie Lindgren for more than just 4 weeks.
Yeah, that obviously is a key to sustaining this. You mentioned Alex Ovechkin and the Alex Ovechkin era. And, what was it? A week or two ago, he only had 2 goals. Now he's up to 5 goals, 12 points. What has he been doing better since the slow start to his season?
To be honest with you, he's getting goals. He got the goal last night. He came off the bench and scored the goal. But a lot of those goals that are being scored are empty netters. Still not true Alex Ovechkin hockey where he could score them on demand. Listen, I don't know if Father Time is catching up with him or that, teams are doing a lot of pre-scouting, but it seemed for so many years that him setting up from the left dot was just untouchable. Goalies, even as much as they tried to prepare for it, they couldn't do it. So he is stepping up, but he's contributing in other ways. He is helping getting assists and getting involved in scoring opportunities, that kind of thing. I'm hoping that he's going to step up his game a little bit more. Someone should tell him he's chasing it down Wayne Gretzky. But if we take a look at it here, he has 827 goals, 68 until he catches the great one. I ultimately think he can do it, but he's got to keep scoring goals on a consistent basis. I still think that there might be an underlying injury or something like that we might find out later. Something still just seems a little bit off, but we're hoping for more from Alex Ovechkin.
The power play has been a problem all season long, ranked near the bottom of the league. What's out of sync with the power play and what can be done to fix it?
It's too bad they don't have a coach, Spencer Carberry, that ran the number 2 power play in all of the NHL with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I know that that's not his job per se. It just seems that it's kind of predictable. It seems that, we were happy that it was a new coaching staff. It just doesn't seem that they're getting the right production. The guys are lining up in the right spot. Some people think that they should give Alex Ovechkin, different spots out on the ice instead of constantly setting up from that left dot, just to kind of shake up the snow globe and give different looks. I think that the power play is still a bit predictable at this point.
Give me a name of a player who may not be making headlines nationally right now, but is quietly doing a great job that has helped the Capitals with this recent win streak.
Well, if we take a look at it recently, like Hendrix Lapierre last night, who got his opportunity just based on the fact that Evgeny Kuznetsov was ill, and he really stepped up and had a huge night for the Capitals last night, had a goal and 2 assists. A guy that, has been in the Capitals organization, a young guy, but has been in the organization for some time and really made it the most of his opportunity. I would say him, and also Connor McMichael pops off the page as well. Like I said, it's an interesting Capitals team this year. It's not the marquee names that you're used to hearing. It's the bottom 6. And that is who's getting all the production. And the keys to the success are a lot of the youth. Nick Dowd returned from an injury where he missed a substantial amount of time on. Dylan Strome is who leads the Capitals in goals, which is a pretty familiar name, I guess I got to say. But he is a guy that is playing much better than I think anyone thought. A guy that was not given a qualifying offer from the Chicago Blackhawks, who has played a huge, huge role on this team.
What are the keys to sustaining this recent success? I mean, you're not going to win the rest of your games, but to be consistently winning hockey games, what does this Capitals team need to do?
Well, the big thing is to continue to, you'll have to forgive me, my daughter's right here, is to continue to get really great success from the Capitals netminder, Charlie Lindgren. And I think that that's a big thing, but also to continue to get the great production from the bottom 6, which has been huge on this team so far.
And, as far as Dylan Strome, I mean, he was off to a red hot start. I think he had 6 goals in like the first 2 weeks of the season. He sort of cooled off a little in the goal scoring department. Is he doing other things that are helping this team succeed right now?
Yeah, and he's getting a great assist on goals as well. He's putting himself in a place to succeed. And, you're just seeing the long history and him being in the league for such a long time. His experience is really starting to show what kind of great hockey player is. But just, his shot is just undeniable. And he was playing on the top line for quite some time with Alex Ovechkin, and there was TJ Oshie and Tom Wilson up there. But he really excelled when he's given a lot of responsibility. He's a guy that has really risen to the challenge for this team. And I think that, if we can continue to see a lot of great production from Dylan Strome and the bottom 6, I think that is the secret sauce for the Capitals' success. Also, for Charlie Lindgren to continue to keep being just a backstop in net for the Capitals.
Yeah, I mean, he really has looked outstanding in recent weeks. How confident are you that he will keep this up?
I think that he will. We can't always look at life or hockey as a carbon copy that it's got to repeat itself. Just because last year he was only good for 4 weeks, he has done nothing to show me that it's going to falter. The Capitals are in a bit of an interesting position, however, is that their number 3 netminder, Hunter Shepard, who was the MVP of the Calder Cup for the Hershey Bears that won the Calder Cup last year, could definitely be a backup for the Capitals right now. So they have just a plethora of different options for net minding. So, one of the things that I know about Darcy Kemper is he's prone to being bit by the injury bug, just historically, whether it's his fault or it isn't his fault. The real luxury that the Capitals have right now is that Charlie Lindgren is just lights out. But Hunter Shepard has been lights out either with the Hershey Bears or the Capitals, and it goes all the way back to his playing days at the University of Minnesota Duluth. So just a really pleasant surprise that everyone is stepping up the net minding, the bottom 6, these young guys. This has been something that I've talked about for for years, is that this team needs to get younger. And we're finally seeing it for the first time, with these young players from Hershey, Connor McMichael, Hendrik Slop-Pierre, Beck Mellenstein, Hardy Hamanaktel, Alex Alexiev. I'm really proud of these young guys that have stepped up and kind of changed the narrative of this Capitals of just being this old geriatric team. But it's a team that's working together. If you take a look back at the 2018 Capitals when they won the Stanley Cup, it wasn't just young. It wasn't just old guys. It was a team working together. So I think that Ovechkin, you can kind of see a look of pride on his face when he sees the young guys doing really well. But I think they could also learn some things from Alex Ovechkin, of course. So I think it's a perfect marriage. And I think the sky's the limit for the Capitals this year. They started the season 1-3-1. And now if you take a look at their record, now they have just been rolling. They're in second place in the Metro, 8-1-1 in their last 10. I can't believe it. If someone had asked me in the beginning of the season if I thought this was possible, I thought that they were going down before they were going to go up, but has just really turned it on. I'm really proud of this team. And again, I'm excited at the prospect of where they'll end up.
Dan, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
So the podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. It's also available on YouTube, of course. Just look for Locked On Capitals. You can find me on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218, or you can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps.
All right, Dan, thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers.